Wake up. Wake up. You're a day early. What? No, it's Friday. Wake up. Oh, no, it's Thursday. Wake up. Yeah, I know. We're pulling a fast one on you. We got some weekend plans, with the family and that kind of thing, and some travel plans for Damon. And you know what? We're gonna do this Friday wake up on a Thursday. Damn it! So let's freaking go. And by the way, we'll talk a little minicamp.
Look, yeah, it's no days off, but we are taking days off. So no shows skipped. That is our theme. No shows skipped. No shows skipped. We're giving you 2 days of wake up this week. And why wouldn't we? Because both Larry and I were down at mini camp yesterday. Very impressive stuff. Some guys are just moving at a size and speed that until you get close to it, you really can't appreciate it. What a privilege we have, Larry, to be able to get that close to a football team. I wish we could bring our entire audience with us. I really do. I wish we could bring everybody down to training camp and have them stand as close and just see the entire offensive line, defensive line, just 3 feet away from you. The difference between the size of normal humans and the size of an NFL team. And then you start seeing the speed that these guys bring to the field. It really is overwhelming. And we got a lot to talk about today. Welcome, everybody. Hit like and subscribe. It's great to have you here. As always, the Palouse is brought to you by Ike Sandwiches, our very good friends at the Dubliner, West Portal, and Larry has some delicious barbecue to tell you about.
Well, yeah, of course, the Krueger Show, as always, brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out, and they do run out. So get there early. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. Not this Damon, but Damon Stainbrook, the owner of Pig and a Pickle. Tell them that Krug sent you. Get some brisket chili. You will not be disappointed. We're also brought to you by our good friends at Sharp Corners, Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're a great follow on Instagram, at Sharp Corners 831 on the IG. They're in Pacific Grove, California. Anthony Catania's at 831-521-5264. And we're also brought to you by our good friends at Claw Daddy Arcades. They're a great follow on Instagram at Claw_Daddy_Arcades to find a location near you. And last but certainly not least, Learn Key Upskill Academy, an online learning platform designed to get you job ready in 6 months or less. They offer 30 certification programs to help you take that next step in your career. They've been in business for almost 4 decades. Over 200,000 students have come through, and they place about 100 students every month in well-paying jobs. So the link's in the description below, Learn Key Upskill Academy, and the links are in the description below for all of our sponsors. And thanks to all of them for putting Damon and I on the air and giving us that extra push. So thanks to our sponsors. And if you want to support our shows, obviously watch, but the second way to support the shows is support the sponsors and shop the sponsors. So thanks to all you guys for doing great things. I was on last night with Dan Coach Emilio, his small YouTube channel that I've helped him start and grow. I don't have any financial stake in it, of course, but I'm just as a friend. He reached 5,000 subs last night. So way to go, Danny. And sometime this weekend, the Krug Show is going to eclipse 60,000 subs.
That's awesome.
We're at 59,000 and climbing. So if you haven't hit like and subscribe on both channels, please hit like and subscribe. Help me get to 60,000. Help Damon get to 45. Where are you at right now?
Where am I right now? That's a great question. Where are we? We're at how about this? Yeah, we want to be at 45 by next week. We're at 44,580 right now, on our way to 50. I have a goal of maybe even getting to 60 by the end of this football season. And obviously, Larry, the leg up that you've given me, I've really appreciated it. And certainly you've earned your subscribers by doing great work. You've been down in Santa Clara the last 2 days. I joined you down there yesterday. And let's just hop right in. It's usually me saying, all right, you're my eyewitness. Tell me what you saw. I'd like to begin
what'd
by
you say?
telling you what I saw. And what I saw more than anything else,
what stood out?
Isaac Guerendo.
Okay.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, only Kyle Shanahan will prevent him from leading the team in overall scrimmage yards this year. I mean, this guy is ready to make plays on a football field so much more than he was last year. You know, the whole, is he a fullback? Dude, this guy's not a fullback. This guy's a football player. This is someone that you can line up in your backfield, in your slot, maybe even as a fullback because he's got the size to do that. I think he and Christian McCaffrey need to be on the field at the same time. One does not need to be the understudy of the other. I think that Guerendo is someone who Kyle Shanahan is going to have a lot of fun playing with this season because he's put it together. The size, the speed, and like you said, the hands. This guy didn't drop anything yesterday, and he takes it all up the field really fast. He is a blur out there, and he stood out. A number of players stood out, but more than anything, man, Guerendo, he just gets that ball and you go, and he's the backup? Like, that's not Christian McCaffrey? That's good news. The 49ers backfield, I think, comes back to life this year.
I'm not sure what to expect from Guerendo because he is so unique, but he's so fast and he's so big that, don't let anybody tell you about other guys, because at the end of the day, it's like, a lot of being great in the NFL is about being big and fast, and he's big and fast. And I just think that this is the year that Shanahan somehow gets, I think, I wanted to ask Christian McCaffrey this yesterday, but I didn't want to start a big argument at the presser. And I know the way he wants to take every rep. I mean, he's a star. Bobby T told me last week, Damon, that, he lets Christian be Christian. And I don't even know what that even really means. But I think what it means is he calls his own shots. He practices when he wants to practice. He practices how hard he wants to practice. He does what he wants to do. He plays when he wants to play.
I think that's coach speak. I think it's coach speak for we're not worried about him.
Yeah, I mean, and the great thing is yesterday I asked Christian, I said, are you healthy? You had the PCL injury, you had double Achilles. I go, I know you're healthy right now, but is it just a matter of you're not playing football? And as soon as you start playing football for a few days, it's going to be, back to the same spot. And he seemed to make it seem like he's over the injuries. So that's great news. But the question I would want to ask him, but I didn't have the nerve to ask him, was, what's really the most important thing? You got your money. You've had lots of personal success. You don't have a ring. And it's like, to me, Damon, the number one goal, Shanahan's got a bunch of goals. Goals for his D-line, goals for his O-line, goals for himself, goals for his quarterbacks. I would say my number one goal, if I was Kyle Shanahan, is get my team to Super Bowl Sunday with a fresh and ready to explode Christian McCaffrey. You remember Stanford, Iowa in the bowl game when Christian McCaffrey was at Stanford. Stanford had Christian McCaffrey perfectly ready. He exploded in the bowl game. He was the best player on the field, and they routed the Iowa Hawkeyes in the Rose Bowl that day. Well, guess what? The 49ers got to the Super Bowl against Kansas City, and they had a worn out, worn down, beat up Christian McCaffrey, and he wound up fumbling.
First drive.
He fumbled on the first drive, and they wound up losing the game. They've got to get, if you're just the real simplistic, how are the Niners going to win the Super Bowl? Get to Super Bowl Sunday. That's first. You can't win Super Bowl Sunday without being in the game. You got to get to Super Bowl Sunday with a fresh Christian McCaffrey. And I think, Damon, you just hit on it. The key to the whole season is Isaac Guerendo has to not just develop, he's got to develop into that two-headed, him and Christian got to be that two-headed monster that all fantasy, players want both those guys on their roster because they're just dominating every week. But spread it around enough. Keep the ball away from McCaffrey when you win games. Don't run games out. Don't run teams off the field. You're going to win a lot of games this year. You got a terrible schedule with a lot of bad teams. When you get to the fourth quarter and you've got the lead and everybody knows you're going to run the ball, run Corey Kiner, run Jordan James, run Izzy Abanaconda, run anybody.
I thought Patrick Taylor Jr. looked good yesterday.
Run Patrick. Yeah, I thought so too. He's looked good all summer, all spring. Run Patrick Taylor. Run anybody but Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
And make sure you get to Super Bowl Sunday with a healthy, rested, and ready Christian. If you get there, dude, I will take my chances. I will take my chances with Shanahan. I'll take my chances with Brock. I'll take my chances with this crappy special teams unit year after year. I will take my chances on Super Bowl Sunday if we can just get there with a healthy Christian McCaffrey, and Guerendo is the key to making that a reality.
I want the number one fantasy complaint to be Christian McCaffrey's not getting enough touches. Like, I want fantasy players to be upset that he's not getting enough touches, and that will mean that Kyle Shanahan has finally seen the right way to go about doing this, right? I do,
but
think
it stems from Christian. It stems from Christian. Christian has to be on board with the plan of let's win the Super Bowl as opposed to let's make you a 2-time Offensive Player of the Year award winner. I do not want to see him win that award again. I want the ring.
Yeah. Well, and he should too. He really should
does.
too.
I'm sure he
does.
does.
I think that he understands that the bites at the apple that he has left in his career are going to be further and fewer in between. And being smart, it's officially time to be less of an athlete and be a little bit more of a smart professional. And I think that he understands that. And let me tell you right now, once we get into the season, there is no room for, well, Christian calls his own shot. No, bullshit. It says coach on your business card. Coach your team the right way. And getting your important player off the field in low leverage moments is the right way to do it. And there have been enough examples that if Kyle continues to ignore what, has happened in the past, well, then you say, well, then, past is prologue. This is history repeating itself, and time is a flat circle. So hopefully lessons have been learned. Hey, we got a little bit of a family in here today. Eric Pleasance says, my brother is Austin Pleasance, and I would believe him because he spells Austin as in Austin Pleasance the correct way, not Austin as in Austin, Texas, which would be the wrong way to spell it.
And Damon, you're right. And he has, he's got gigantic glasses in his avatar there, but he has very similar coloring to Austin Pleasance,
man, that's a beefy dude right there.
That's a beefy guy with light hair. And Austin, yeah, and Eric, if you're here, I got a little bit of a froggy throat this morning, but if you're here, and you're absolutely in the right place, because I think I probably am the president of the Austin Pleasance fan club. But I'll say this, it's a fan club that's growing, Larry, because I'm a big mouth and I tell people a lot about how good Austin looks. And I said it to Willard yesterday. I said it to Damon yesterday. I said it to Grant yesterday. I said it to Dieter yesterday. I've been talking up Austin Pleasance, and I talked him up to a guy, his own position coach, who gave me that look like, dude, you know what you're talking about. Because I talked to Chris Furster last week, and I just happened to walk up when Furster was alone, kind of, and I asked him about Pleasance, and he's like, he is moving at a rate of speed that I had no idea that he had that kind of movement ability within. So Chris is very impressed. I'm very impressed. I would say to Austin this is what I would say to Austin. I would love to know what you did from when the regular season ended to when the minicamp started, because he looks bigger, explosive. It's clear he's been in the gym working his calves, working his legs. He's got these bowling ball calves. He's just a monster out there, but he's moving so fast, Damon. And to me, he's far and away the most improved player that I've seen. And I asked Chris Furster about it. He said, we signed him out of a tryout camp in December because we had a need, we had some injuries, we didn't have a lot of time to look at guys. We liked what we saw in the workout, Damon, but we, it's a workout and we weren't overwhelmed. Then we put him in the game late in the year. He did play a game or two, and he said, "Hey, you know what? We kind of liked what we saw." And then we talked to him at the end of the year about coming back in the spring and being really ready to roll and compete for a spot. And I don't know what they told him, Damon, about the tackle spot, but they brought in Andre Dillard and they brought in Nicholas Petit Frere and they tried to get DJ Humphreys. And so they tried to, give, let's say, Austin's job, let's just say, to somebody else. But Petit Frere stunk and Dillard's had injury problems and DJ Humphreys' deal fell apart. And it's all going to be a footnote, because none of those guys have a prayer in hell of beating out Austin Pleasance if he continues to look the way he looks.
Look, you always want a general manager going back to the boneyard for new dominoes, right? That's how you win. That's what smart teams do. You're always looking for the replacement of the player who seems unreplaceable, and you're certainly looking for the replacement of the player who could be replaceable. And that's what Austin Pleasance has been in his career. But you are right. And look, for a guy who
what do you think? You saw him yesterday.
So you've got a scouting eye that I don't claim to have. You've got some experience in front offices that I don't pretend that I have. You also get really excited about 49ers and every now and then get a little high on your own supply.
I'll miss on a guy. I will miss.
Hey, you can't have 50 opinions and go 50 for 50, right? That's just not how sports works. I think you're right about Austin Pleasance, dude. I mean,
it looks like a ton.
That if that doesn't work, I guess my own eye is worthless if that isn't a guy who, worst case scenario, he's the first dude on your practice squad and probably gets scooped up by somebody. I think they're going to have to roster him, and he is getting starting offensive snaps. And I said, yeah, remember the one when we were chatting, I was like, Larry, is this the first unit out there? And you're like, nah, it's not the first unit. And you look at it again, you're like, well, yeah, I guess it is. It's today's first unit anyways, because McKivitz. So I asked you that because Pleasance was lined up next to Pooney, and Pooney, who is not small, was smaller than Austin Pleasance. You could see that. I didn't notice. Was McKivitz bounced inside for those reps, or was he off the field for those reps? We know that Trent didn't go, and Burford was the left.
Who was the? Yeah, I think in the last day of this minicamp, Kyle gave a lot of the veterans. Kyle told me in the post practice Tuesday that if it was up to him, he would have canceled the whole week, but that he's got 20 to 25 guys that really need the reps. And so I think we're really, Damon, what we saw over the last 2 days was that these were the guys that they wanted to get the reps to. And it wasn't always backup guys. Like, give you an example. I was down by the defensive line drills, and there's no doubt that Nick Bosa and Bryce Huff took the lion's share of the reps. So it was like, either they wanted to see those guys, they wanted to put that on film, they wanted to, who knows? I mean, maybe they've been leaning on the other guys most of the time. They wanted to get Bosa. Maybe they wanted to just show the other guys, this is what we want. This is how it's done
for Bosa, but he didn't seem limited at all. He was out there a lot. Yeah, he took a lot of snaps, as did Huff. By the way, the get off on both of those guys. Larry, I put up a short about just Bosa and his just technique getting off, just looking at, snap drills. And there's a clinic. There's a technical clinic in the way that Bosa puts his hand in the dirt and lines up for a snap, and how quick his jump is for the size of that guy to be as twitchy as he is just, it's something else.
And Huff is not big, but Huff's get off is really, really very quick. By the way, I'm going to share the screen real quick. This is why the Austin Pleasance story is really an interesting story, because look at this career. Jacksonville, Carolina, Chargers, Bears, Cardinals, Chargers again, Cardinals again, Bears again, Niners. That's a lot of stops, man. That's a lot of stops from Dawson Bryant High School in Coal Grove, Ohio,
it's a lot
through
of
the MAC.
situations, by the way.
but it's a lot of stops in any way you cut it, right? I mean, that's a lot of stops. But then if you go further down, you see, okay, wait a second. This guy was second team All MAC when he was in college. So it's not like this guy's some guy who couldn't play. He could play. He was all conference in college. Then you look at the measurables: 6'6" and an eighth, 310, 33 and 3/8 inch arms, 10 and an eighth inch hands. Those are huge hands, and that's a big boy right there. So the fact of the matter is, Chris Foerster's a great coach, and the Niners scheme rewards guys who can move. And this kid is only 27. That's the other thing, Damon. It's funny. It's like in football, you would say, God, man, this is an amazing story if Austin Pleasance has carves out a nice career for himself here. Because why? Because he's been on 9 different stops or whatever in the NFL. But if I just said to you, Damon, I got a buddy. I'm not even going to tell you what field he's in, but he's in a field and he's really, really talented. And, he got out of college and he was, he had really good grades. He went to a really good school. He got a great degree. But, for like 3 years, he kind of just bounced around from company to company. And now he's 27 and he's really more serious about his career and he's really thriving. You would say, you know what? That's not a rare story. That sounds like a normal story, But in football, it's really abnormal, But that's what this kid is. He's 27, and the Niners have themselves a big-time tackle. Anyway, that's enough on Austin Pleasance. But I did want to show people how dramatic if this guy is as good as I think he is, how dramatic that's going to be. That's that. And by the way, Jalen Moore, was not considered to be, like coming into the year, nobody was like, Jalen Moore's a free agent at the end of the year. And my God, they can't lose Jalen Moore. Do we lose Damon? But you don't want to lose, you don't want to lose, you don't want to, at the end of the year, you're like, oh, they lost Jalen Moore and he went to Kansas City and he got $30 million. Well, guess what? That could happen next year with McKivitz. That McKivitz could wind up going somewhere else next year. And all of a sudden you've got no tackle. No starting tackle. So Burford's playing tackle, Dillard's playing tackle, Austin Pleasance is playing tackle. They're all backing up behind, obviously, Trent and McKivitz. But it's interesting, if you say to most 49er fans coming out of minicamp, hey, the Niners as a Super Bowl contender, what do you think? A lot of guys are going to say, you know what? Really bad offensive line. They didn't do anything to fix it. No, put a line through the Niners. And the Niners may or may not win this year, but it will not be because of their offensive line, in my opinion. I think their offensive line is going to be improved. I think the depth on their offensive line is actually definitely improved. So there you go. As far as offensive line play is concerned, I'm not saying that, the Niners are going to have the best offensive line, but it's funny. Dieter and I did a stream the other night, and I said, Dieter, give me your bold prediction. His bold prediction was the Niners offensive line winds up being a top 5 offensive line in the entire league. So that would be incredible. But that's how bullish Dieter is on the Niners O-line. Not sure what happened to Damon. He probably had a little technical difficulty. I'm sure he'll be back in a sec, but let's hit a super right here. Scotty D is in the house. He says, Damon is a fan, but suffers no fools. Larry, best locker room interviewer in the biz, shows team and players respect and gets authentic replies. Thanks. Well, hey, Scotty, thank you, man. Thank you. That's a nice comment. What happened? Where'd you go?
Dude, the power just went out in my house for a second. Just everything just went out.
But it came back.
On. I just had to power everything back up here. So
that happens, man. That happens when you're doing the home studio.
Yeah.
I always wonder, my son is now an employee, not Kev, my second son, Ben, is an employee at Lenardi's. He's working at Lenardi's now as a bagger, and I think he just got promoted to checker. He's going to DVC, figuring it out, right? But I always wondered, like, what happened? What does a grocery store have Like, as far as backup plan, because, like, I mean, if the power goes out, you got stuff in the fridge, and
Right.
and there's work stuff around our house all the time. We live in our grid will get knocked off like once or twice a year, sometimes even more, like 10 times, 4 or 5 times a year, 10 times a year, for, like, as you said, for a short amount of time, 90 minutes, 45 minutes. We're doing this, we're resetting that. I always wonder what happens.
They got backup
what happens if a
generators.
grocery store
Backup generators. They got somebody has to, maybe even like a gas.
They gotta I mean, that's gotta be the backup generator of backup generators, man. That's not your Honda, pull the cord kind of a thing. That's not one of those blah 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 blah. I mean, that's gonna have to be something big time to power up a grocery
Scotty
store.
D. Damon, fan but suffers no fools. Larry, best locker room interviewer in the biz, shows team players respect, gets authentic replies. Thanks. Well, thank you, Scotty D. Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Scotty just put that one up there a second ago. So
anyways, I'm back. My backup.
Yeah, we were talking. We were talking.
Generators kicked in, Larry.
We were talking Austin Pleasance, but let's move the conversation, because the other thing that we saw yesterday is we saw the second half of the 49er place kicker competition. Yes. On the day before, when you weren't there, it was Jake Moody's time. I saw Jake go 6 for 6. Somebody said that he kicked 7 and that he missed one. It's probably right, but I didn't see it. But Greg Joseph, who's the veteran, who was brought in to compete with Jake Moody yesterday, did go 7 for 7, making field goals from 27, 32, 36, 40, 46, and 55. So, I'll say this. I mean, you've got Moody with a 2-step approach, and he's more accurate. And you got Joseph, the veteran, who's coming in. This competition makes me a little nervous, but at the same time, it's great if they're both, nails all summer. That would give the Niners a fantastic decision. But I get the feeling that the 49ers are the kind of team that, if it's even, they're going with Jake Moody to make themselves look smarter. And then with my other concern is with some of these free agents, like these DBs, for example. I want to see the Niners take the best DBs. And I tried to get it from Robert Saleh yesterday, Damon. I said, Robert, you had Sauce and Reed in New York, and you got Bernardo.
I heard your question.
You had dudes. You had real dudes. And I go, you signed 9 new guys or 10 new free agents in the secondary and 7 new corners. Are any of them dudes? And he kind of smiled. He knew what I was saying. And he's like, man, I don't want to touch that. He's like, he would not commit to any of these guys being, as I said, dudes.
That means the corner. Answer is either no or I'm hiding something.
Well, I don't know. His thing was, hey, look, with the corners, you really don't know till the pads come on and they're really bumping and running when, contending with these receivers. I will say this, though. The one thing that I noticed yesterday is that the only, for all this talk about Mikael Williams and Alfred Collins and CJ West and all these guys, Nick Martin, the only rookie that ran with the ones on defense yesterday was Upton Stout, who ran with the ones as the slot corner with Demo and Renardo as the outside tandem. So we'll see. I don't know who's going to start, who's not going to start, but today, as of today, going into training camp, the only rookie that is slated to run with the ones is Upton Stout.
Which is kind of amazing, and it shows you that good things can come in small packages, because, dude, he's Lilliputian. He is teeny, eensy, weensy level Isaiah Thomas, not Detroit Piston Isaiah Thomas, Boston Celtic Isaiah Thomas, smallest dude on the court. Like he better be like wired like Allen Iverson to survive in the NFL and just be one of the baddest dudes out there, because he is not big at all. but he is fast, man. There is no doubt. He's scrappy. You could see it. Like you said, you really can't tell until the pads come on and there's contact, which is why it's hard for me to start waxing, real poetic about any wide receiver that we saw, because everyone's picking up nothing but first downs. Let me tell you what became so readily apparent. There's nothing to discuss here anymore. It was kind of reassuring. Guess who I put my eyes on for a little bit yesterday and then took my eyes right off? I'm like, yeah, there's nothing left to see here. This is Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is so far and away a cut above the other two guys on his roster right now, both Mac Jones and Tanner Mordecai, that it's one of those, I guess we can kind of start taking Brock for granted. Like I don't even need to watch that anymore. There's no, is he the guy? He's clearly the guy. So my eyes went away from Brock Purdy quickly. Did watch Mac Jones. I don't know. Okay, maybe not. I don't know. Tanner Mordecai, the few things that I saw out of Tanner Mordecai, he did not look good yesterday, but who knows what they were working on. It is unfair to try to track completions and who went 8 for 9, who went 5 for 6.
No, don't do that.
Because you don't know what they're working on. You don't know what they're working on.
Yeah, exactly. And also it creates this, it's just not good for anybody. I mean, you heard Shanahan say it. I thought the interesting thing was, I think he said it the day before you were there, but Shanahan kind of referenced that, I think someone said, what are you looking for in Mac, or what do you think of Mac? And he's like, I just want all these quarterbacks in practice to really let it rip. And he's like, with you guys standing here, a lot of times they don't want to let it rip. And then he went on and said, why? He's like, because, then, you guys start reporting camp stats and this, and it's like, so it is interesting to hear, you would usually hear coaches go like, you block out the noise and the media and nobody pays attention. Shanahan basically admitted yesterday that his quarterbacks do pay attention to the quarterback and camp stats that we print out. And so, he's not a fan of it, and he wants to just see his quarterbacks, including Mac, just, let it rip and try to fit it into tight holes and tight spaces and that kind of thing, because that's what you do in practice. You test your boundaries. You test your limits.
Right. It's practice. You're allowed to make mistakes in practice. They do not count. They are not a representation of what's going to happen once the real game starts. You play like you practice. Okay, well, to an extent, sure. But yeah, it's a little bit too much. I remember us having the same conversation about this. Is Brock the guy from 2 years ago? And I asked you simply, do you remember that one time where Dan Marino went 11 of 33 with first team reps in Miami? Of course you don't, because nobody counted practice incompletions and completions back then. No, it was just, no one even thought to do it. There wasn't Twitter. There wasn't a constant beast to feed at all times. And let me, get my camp all ginned up about this guy being better than another guy. I mean, we have definitely suffered from almost too much stats.
Well, it's ridiculous. I mean, yeah. I was joking with Bob Sargent, who's a 49er vice president. He was out on the field, and you and I know him, and he's on the broadcast side, so we've been friends for a long time. I didn't see
Sarge yesterday.
Oh, it was 2 days ago he was there.
Oh, okay. All right.
So Sarge was there a couple days ago, and Brock Purdy threw a pass in the middle of the field, and D. Winters made a dive for it and caught it, and then picked it up and jogged like 15 yards. And somebody said, Brock with the pick 6. And I looked at Sarge and I just started laughing.
Oh,
and he started laughing, and I'm like, hey, you notice that every interception in camp on a 5-yard field, when all you have to do is run 5 yards past the line of scrimmage, it's automatically a pick 6. When you hear people like, I'll do like a camp review, and then and I did one earlier this week, and somebody's like, what about Purdy's 3 interceptions? And I'm like, you fucking moron. It's like if you were here, you wouldn't be saying that, right, because they weren't interceptions.
It's easy to pick low-hanging fruit, and that's all that is. That's all.
The bottom line is there's times, I mean, you see it on the play, you see it all the time on the practice field. It happened yesterday. Brock Purdy dropped back to pass, and he threw an incredible tight spiral to the left. and there wasn't anybody in the flat, and there wasn't anybody deep. There wasn't anybody within 20 yards where he's throwing it.
Somebody got that route wrong.
and we're sitting there going, well, what was that? And it's like, obviously, it's the receiver probably ran the wrong route. That's why Brock threw the ball where he thought the ball was supposed to go, right? Or Brock totally misread it, or there was miscommunication. Those are the three options. But it's like somebody's going to look at that and be like, that was a screw up. And it's like, no, dude, it's called practice. And that's why you have, 56 reps or whatever, because, 2 or 3 of them are going to get ruined by guys jumping off sides and tip passes and dropped this and, miscommunications. And it's like, that's why they call it practice. But anyway, by the way, not playing, just so you guys know, yesterday, this is who wasn't playing yesterday. Yesterday, no Lenore, no Rourke, no Mustafa, no Ayuk, no Jennings, no Jair Brown, no Luter, no Odom, no Marcus Siegel, no Warner, no Curtis Robinson, no Andre Dillard, no Yatir Gross-Matos, Alfred Collins, Mikael Williams, Ricky Pearsall. All those guys didn't participate yesterday. So just if you're sitting there going, what about some of these other guys? A lot of those guys just didn't play.
The first 2 picks in the draft weren't out there. That's a little disappointing. You don't want anyone to be showing signs of injury before anyone's even been touched yet. So disappointing that we didn't get to see Alfred Williams or Mikael Williams out there. But I'll tell you, dude, CJ West. See, is it? Somebody said, is it too early to say Warren Sapp? Yes, it's definitely too early to say Warren Sapp. A Hall of Famer. So let's calm down a little. But dude,
similar body.
It's the type. It certainly is the frame where he is as big wide as he is tall. I mean,
what did you say to him? Because you walked up to him and said something. I saw him look over his shoulder and smile and say something back to you. What did you? That you may have broken one of the camp rules. You're not supposed to, talk to the giraffes in the cage.
All I can tell you is that he was standing right in front of me, did sort of a halfway turnaround to the point where one of his ears, and I just said, "Go Hoosiers and thank you."
I knew it was Hoosier related.
And he said, what? And I said, graduated December 97, man. You gave me the one good football season of my entire life. Thank you. And he's like, oh, what's your name? I said, my name's Damon. And we just had a nice little handshake moment. And Larry, I'm glad I shook his hand because I want to talk about another
famous hand.
I want to talk about another man's hands. Let's talk about these paws this dude has. I mean, my hand disappeared. It wasn't, I couldn't even see it. It's like it's like my arm stopped at the wrist, shaking his hand.
Those are registered weapons, registered in 5 states. I mean, his hands. I mean, I saw it.
Do you want to talk about another man's hands right now? Do you want to talk about another man's hands?
Well, seriously, I saw it when I watched the Twitter highlights from Frisco, Texas, before the East-West Shrine game. And I was like, oh, my God, this guy is ragdolling guys. And defensive linemen, you want guys who are really strong from the elbow to the fingertip.
Yeah.
I know it sounds crazy, but that's a lot of this. You engage the offensive lineman. You're looking through him to the running back. You've got him. That running back's going to the A gap. You throw that guy away and you dive. And CJ West has got it. He's got it.
He's got forearms like thighs. He's just
that is the dude. If I'm in a bar fight and or I got some bad character who's going to hang out in the parking garage across from practice, and I need some Niner to come out to my car with me, I'm taking CJ West.
So,
without any doubt,
it was a conversation that was just being had around Carl Anthony Towns. I can't remember who said it. It might have been Gilbert Arenas who said he's built like a WNBA player, right? Like he's Like he's not as thick
terrible
as he needs to be. It was a shot at his body type, how his body type, and he actually gets an awful lot out of that body type. He really does. Karl Anthony Towns, I know he's got some flaws, but he had a very good first year with the New York Knicks. Sort of, it'd be hard to say he didn't have a good year, right? I mean, it really would be.
They went to the conference finals.
Exactly.
The Knicks.
They were talking about his body and that his body type doesn't exactly suggest there's going to be repeatable greatness all the time. And he's a little bit top tall. He's all torso. He's not enough legs. Again, the Warren Sapp thing is just like, if you could draw a defensive tackle on an easel, it would look like CJ West. Like Alfred Collins might be a little bit too big for the role. Again, didn't see him yesterday.
That's a concern. We haven't seen him all year. We haven't seen him since the draft. He's been in a walking boot since before the draft.
I'm going to steal from you. Leverage McLeverage. If
CJ West.
If low man wins, not being the biggest dude height-wise at D tackle is actually an advantage. And he is just going to be low and coming through dudes' hips all freaking year long. I was very, very excited about what I saw out of him. By the way, another just guy who we haven't talked about him. He's probably not, honest to God, like on the roster week 1 playing in Seattle. But man, let me just tell you, there is let me make sure I got his name right. It was the kid from Washington.
I get his name wrong all the time too. His name's Sebastian Valdez.
I almost called him Gutierrez. I almost said Sebastian.
I called him Alvarez yesterday.
It's Sebastian Valdez. If being big and quick in short space helps you make a football team, this dude might make a football team. He is a freaking monster. We's wearing number 65. They gave him a number that says you're probably not on the team, dude. But we'll see. We'll see.
They have not talked about him, but it's only because we haven't asked about him.
Yeah, but
if I had a little bit more time, I would absolutely be asking Chris lots of questions about him. But I'll say this, Damon, I've watched a lot of football practice in my life, and I know a good player when I see one, and that is a good player.
That's again, I don't claim to have a scouting background, but I think I know. All right, that's that. What's that? Who's that?
Well, back to CJ for a second. CJ has one flaw, and his flaw is, and I haven't talked to him about it, but he doesn't want to jump off sides. And so what's happening is that he is getting left in his stance, and he's not getting off the ball. CJ West was dominant at Indiana, despite the fact that he didn't get off the ball. That's how dominant he is.
He's so powerful.
He's so powerful. He's so dominating that he's winning reps where he's not getting off the ball. But in the NFL, you don't win when you don't get off the ball. Getting off the ball is like the prerequisite to having a chance to win the rep. So he's got to, like Bryce Huff doesn't look impressive, but man, he is absolutely perfect in his timing, in his footwork, and his everything getting off the ball. CJ West is dominant and awesome and going to be very good in the NFL. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. But he's not going to be a pass rusher until he learns to get off the ball. And it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time. And as far as this Valdez character, he had 34 reps of 225. He went to Montana. He transferred to UW. He played for the UW Huskies. So he played in the big conference this last year. And he was very, very productive. Undrafted, but he went at the UW Pro Day, and he had 34 reps of 225. That 34 rep number, if he had been invited to the Combine, would have led the Combine. Oh, that would have been the most reps of anybody at the Combine at any position. So he's enormously strong. But then the other thing is now during the minicamp, because the fans aren't there, they don't have the music at the same level. So we can actually hear Kasarik, because he talks loud, And I'm sitting there watching him, the last 2 days. D-line's my favorite to watch, especially now they have all these players. And, dude, every Sebastian Valdez rep is greeted by Kaczmarek going, good job. And then he's going over to, back to the, if the next guy steps up for the rep, he goes back to the group. And when he gets back to the group, guys are coming over and they're high-fiving him. And so that's like the universal you're doing well, is when you're getting lots and lots of applause from the position coach and high fives from the other players. And to see an undrafted rookie free agent getting hailed as great rep all spring makes you go, what the heck's going on here?
Again,
the guy doesn't have any wraps on his knees. He's got no wraps, so he's 100% healthy. He's not he didn't have the fastest 40 time, Damon. His 40 was pedestrian. But if you looked at his 10-yard split, short shuttle, and 3-cone, they're top 10 percentile, top 5 percentile. So he's got movement ability according to the testing that's top 5, top 10 percentile. He had the strongest lift, and he looks amazing in practice. So all I'll say to any of and we all know how vitally important that D-line position is. You never can have enough really good D-linemen. So just remember that name. Now, granted, for full disclosure, because I do get excited about these guys, I was fired up last year about Spencer Wagee. And Spencer Wagee got cut, and his issue was he couldn't stay on his feet. He was playing the game on the ground a lot. You can't do that. That will be this guy's issue as well. Can he stay on his feet and make plays? If he can, watch out for Sebastian. What did I say? Sebastian Valdez.
Yes.
I was going to call him Alvarez again. Sebastian Valdez. Really, really nice player. And let's give the Niners some credit. Chris has got an eye for guys that fit his scheme. Last year, the Niners paid $350,000 for Evan Anderson.
Hernandez, Vasquez, Cortez.
But Evan Anderson was a find last year for the 49ers, and he's back, and he's going to be another good year for Evan Anderson. But my point is just that Chris has got Chris Forster is looking for different offensive linemen than the rest of the league, and I get the sense that maybe Chris Kaczmarek is looking for somewhat different defensive linemen than some of the other teams in the league. And last year he found Evan Anderson, and I'll predict it right now. This year he's going to find Sebastian Alvarez. No, Sebastian Valdez.
That guy looks like a player. Okay, another.
He does.
How the hell is that guy undrafted question I have?
Who do you got?
Isaiah Nair. All right. So he's number 14 now. He's not Ricky Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall did not turn into, 3 inches taller and a black guy in the offseason. They've changed jersey numbers. Isaiah Nair has a body and a skill set that makes you go, what the hell is wrong with him for him to not have been drafted? Because he is a creative player, physical stature on Madden. He is ridiculously tall, long, fast. From what I saw yesterday, he was catching footballs. It wasn't like he had stone hands out there. How is that guy an undrafted, signed off the streets free agent when he played at a high-profile school with a body like that? Like what? Yeah,
he's just raw.
Incomplete. But holy shit.
Well, I mean, I'll give you an example. I mean, I was watching the wide receiver drills. This is pro football. Okay. If I go down and watch my sophomore in high school play JV football, I'll see lots of body catching. But when I watch NFL football, they pluck the ball with their hands. This is how you catch the ball in the NFL, like this. Mm-hmm. This is how you catch the ball in high school.
Right, into your body.
You cradle it up, and that's what Nair did yesterday. He's literally on the sidelines. Everybody else is like, throw me the ball. He's like, I'm catching it on my pads. So that tells me that he is beyond raw.
Okay, so if
And
it's a matter of just his hands aren't developed, hopefully he can get that, because that guy's got an NFL body, full stop, end of discussion.
Oh, dude, I mean, this guy is, if it was my team, this guy for sure is on the practice squad. For sure.
Without a doubt.
He is the reason they even came up with the concept of practice squad. This guy's big and fast and intriguing.
I understand the technique matters.
But I mean, that's more than technique, Damon.
Results matter too. Like, as long as you're catching the football, I really don't give a fuck how you did it. Like,
I know, but like, it would be like if all of a sudden, you know, we walked into a studio and somebody was talking from the microphone and it was like this. Hey, what's going on, Damon? How you doing? Yeah, you know, oh, you got the right mic, Krug. What's wrong? Why's my mic? I've got the same mic you have. How come my mic? Oh, you got to turn it this way.
Now he's a pro.
Oh, you got to turn it this way. Yeah, it's that kind of a F up. So it's it's you know what I mean? It reveals raw, reveals crude, it reveals new. So that's all I would say. You're right though. This guy has got a skill set between the size, the hands, the arm length, the gait. I mean, he looks awesome.
Who's their wide receiver coach? Hankerson?
Yeah, Leonard Hankerson.
Leonard Hankerson? If I'm Leonard Hankerson, I am going down to Dick's Sporting Goods, spending my own money, or I'm stealing one out of the damn practice shed, and I'm buying this kid a jugs machine and making him live with it. And I'm just firing balls 80 miles an hour right into his face from 3 feet away, and we're going to work on those hands every single moment of every single day. I'd be jugs machining this kid to death, because he is, if that guy stands out on a football field. Like,
he's got a Randy Moss body. He's got a Randy Moss body. My guess is, Damon, if you talk to him, you would find out that that's the issue. That, you know, he's either not that focused, he's not that serious, he's not that into it, he's not that loving it. There's something
to himself.
Right. He's got awesome traits.
Yes.
And now it's just going to be about him. If he wants it, if this guy wants it, watch out. But, you know, that leads us into the next part of the conversation. Is there's a lot of people that are suggesting that the 49ers need help at wide receiver. And we've heard Gabe Davis, we've heard Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper. I've thrown out Malachi Corley. Other people have thrown out different names. You know, that's going to be interesting. They do have on their, the Ayuk situation. When is he going to play? I thought
the single most impressive wide receiver yesterday was Demarcus Robinson.
Exactly. Demarcus Robinson really looks good. And you sit there and say, well, Krug, tell me what? Explain this to me. So he's a very unique player. He runs slow. He's a 4.59, 4.61 kind of 40 guy. We're talking about Demarcus Robinson. But he made a play 2 days ago that kind of demonstrates who he is as a player. This guy averaged like 17 or 16 point something yards per catch. And for a guy who runs, high 4.5s, low 4.6s, how does he make this happen? Well, and I saw it on the practice field yesterday. He was covered by a corner. I don't know which one. The ball was in the air, and he waited until the very last second, and then he just moved. He basically it was like a back shoulder type throw where the quarterback threw it to a spot, and then Robinson moved to that spot while the ball was in the air, and he caught it, without being contested because the DB didn't move when he moved. So, yeah, to me, it's Pearsall, Jennings, Robinson, Watkins, Cowing. Those 5 guys are going to be your 5 receivers. Ayuk is going to be on the PUP to start the year. So then it's like, do you go with 5 or do you go with 6? And if you go with 6, who's number 6? And I would say it's either going to be Junior Bergen, who's a return guy who they really love.
He made a catch. I even came over to you yesterday. I'm like, I just saw Junior Bergen catch a football. He's not just a return guy, Larry.
Right. So there's Junior Bergen. There's Nair. There's Isaiah Hodgins, and there's Malik Knowles. I mean, there's other guys too, like
Right.
Owens Kidd and Russell Gage, but they're not going to make it. So it's really going to come down to Malik Knowles, Isaiah Nair, Isaiah Hodgins, and Junior Bergen for one spot if they go with 6, and no spots if they go with 5. If they go with 5 and there's no injuries, it's Pearsall, Jennings, Demarcus Robinson, Watkins, and Cowing, and then Robinson's going to miss the first 3 weeks. So if my guess is, between Nair, Bergen, and Hodgins and Knowles, one of those guys will be up. But they, I'll say this: I don't want to get a veteran receiver like an Amari Cooper because I don't want to cut a good young player. But I would be on the lookout for a younger receiver that gets cut that I like, that maybe is just better than the guys that I got as far as the last guy on the roster. So
there are imperfections. It might not be a fit in a lot of ways, but you got enough culture already in your locker room to hopefully bend anyone's will to the light of the 49ers. I'm trading for Tyreek Hill today if I'm the San Francisco 49ers. Do you want to fuck around?
He's another guy out there.
Not fuck around. Tyreek Hill is the ultimate we're not fucking around move that they could make this year, I think, to just instant improve the offense. I mean, think of the matchup nightmares between Tyreek Hill, George Kittle, Isaac Guerendo, and Christian McCaffrey. Oh, my Lord. I mean,
there's also a lot of talk about Terry McLaurin wanting to be traded from Washington. Supposedly that situation is blowing up.
Do that today. If you can do that, that's one guy I would put ahead of the Tyreek Hill wish list. Terry McLaurin is 1,000 yards in 17 games, rolling out of bed. I think the Commanders would be insane to let him walk after having such kismet with Jaden Daniels. But okay, again, any trade for McLaurin to the Niners involving Ayuk doesn't make any sense for the Commanders as far as I'm concerned. So that means the Niners should rush to do it twice. I think they'd be getting.
By the way, who's looking good in the Eagles camp?
Eagles camp? No,
unbelievable. Terrace Marshall. It says overlooked Eagles newcomer makes strong push for roster spot at minicamp. Terrace Marshall, who's a great guy, played at LSU, played for Carolina, was with the Niners last year. Then they cut him. They never gave him an opportunity. They gave Ronnie Bell opportunities. They gave all kinds of donkeys opportunities. They never gave this guy an opportunity. He got waived by Carolina in August, and then the Niners signed him, and he was on the practice squad for much of the year. He was released. He was released by the Panthers October. Let's see when he. Anyway, he wound up with the Eagles, and according to Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports, who was at practice, Marshall has gained Jalen Hurts' trust. It's been obvious to everyone who's been watching. He says Marshall got open over the middle of the field for a long gain early in the 7-on-7 period with the first team. Then he caught a touchdown pass from Hurts on a slant in which he beat Cooper DeJean. He's behind A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Jahan Dotson. There are 2 spots to be had among wide receivers, and Terrace Marshall may be locking down one of them. See, now this is going to fry my bacon, man. I was touting this guy all last year. Play Terrace Marshall. They'd never played him at all.
Didn't get him out there. Didn't even get him out there in junk time.
And now he's potentially going to make the Eagles. He's also competing with Giles Jackson, who I loved in minicamp, or in rookie camp, the local rookie day. He was there. He's from Antioch. Giles Jackson's in camp with the Eagles. Elijah Cooks from San Jose State is in camp with the Eagles. Danny Gray, according to some, he's looking very good in the Eagles camp. The Eagles are going to go with 6 receivers. So we'll see. But Terrace Marshall and Danny Gray are battling. What's that?
The Danny Gray?
Yeah, the Danny Gray, supposedly. I mean, it's now or never. It's now or never for Danny Gray. So Danny Gray can't take the physicality of the NFL.
It really is something else. You got basically to the end of your second season as a rookie to establish yourself in this league. A lot of guys don't, they'll be moved on from by the time year 3 rolls around. This is, again, going back to where this whole conversation started. Isaac Guerendo, year 2. Write that down, folks. I just think there is something coming with Isaac Guerendo. I really do. I think he's going to have a great year. I'm really excited about him. Speaking of, other camp stories around football, these mandatory camps always reveal where the drama is. And, who would have thought that the first story of drama coming out of Steelers camp had nothing to do with Aaron Rodgers, but had everything to do with TJ Watt, who is walking away thinking, I need Myles Garrett money.
He blew it off. Yeah, he blew off minicamp.
Yeah, $40 million a year DNs means the cap is going to have to go up significantly to now have that as standard operating procedure, and it will. So don't be afraid of that. I mean, if I'm the Steelers, I'm giving TJ Watt a blank check and say, see you week 1. I mean, what do you that guy's a stud.
And by the way, the odds are out on where TJ Watt's next home will be if it's not Pittsburgh. The Eagles are the 3-1 favorite, and the 49ers are the second choice at 4-1. So I'll say this. I mean, and Trey Hendrickson odds are out as well for his next team. New England is 7-2 favorite, Philly 9-2, Detroit 5-1, and then the Niners at 6.5-1, 13-2.
Jair Alexander. It seems like the 49ers are about to sign everybody who might be able to be signed or traded for or anything like that.
Well, these odds, first of all, okay, these odds, I don't want to say they're meaningless, but, the limits on what you can wager on this are very low. I mean, I think $50 might be the most you can wager on this stuff. But it is interesting because it's all insider information. But then I read another article this morning about how the Eagles and Steelers might get together on a monster deal involving TJ Watt. So I don't know. I will say this. I mean, the Niners have a lot. I mean, in a way, they've had a lot of success, right? They haven't won the Super Bowl under this regime, but they've had a lot of success. But it's also year 9 of the regime, and they don't have that 6 Lombardi. So depending on Jed's perspective, Kyle Shanahan could have, have total job security, or he could be, one bad season away from being on a really hot seat. So it's like, which is it? And then if it's potentially the latter and he's got to win that Super Bowl, well, you have Trent and Kittle and Bosa and Warner and $50 million of cap room, second only to the Patriots in the entire league. I think this would be the year I would try to add to my mix. Now, if I was trying to win the Super Bowl, what would I add? I'd either add another receiver, another corner, or more pass rush. Because you're not going to be, I mean, normally I would say, hey, add a premier offensive tackle or guard, but you can't. There is no such thing as offensive line
is this
adds.
Settle the safety?
Safety might be another spot, Damon. That's a good one, too. I didn't think about safety, but safety, corner, receiver, and pass rush. Those would be the areas that I would consider.
Looking at the cap space, do you think they got any seller's remorse over Hufanga not being on this team right now, not being more aggressive to sign him?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think that the 49ers loved Hufanga, but they totally, since he was their guy, they knew all the good and the bad. And, the good is that he's a great guy. The good is that he's lined up in the right spot. He's going to practice hard. The bad is he's got Palomalu's hair, but doesn't have Palomalu's speed. So Palomalu ran in the 4.3s. Well, this guy runs in the 4.7s. So he's not a downfield guy. So that means he's got to be an in the box guy. And then he's an underpowered guy who falls off of blocks or falls off of tackles. So, I mean, I love Hufanga. I mean, Hufanga's just, he's my dude. I mean, he's like one of the guys that I really, really, feel strongly about.
Right. He's a date your daughter candidate, right?
Oh, he's an awesome guy. He's an amazing guy. I mean, he's like he's truly a spectacular person. And I love the guy. And he's treated me so well. I mean, Damon, I went up to this guy and asked him for an interview, And he's like, "Hey man, I can't do it right now. This and that. I got to do that." And I'm like, "No sweat, man. We'll catch you another time." And then all of a sudden, I'm interviewing somebody else like 15 minutes later, and he taps me on the shoulder and he's like, "Hey man, if you got time, as soon as I'm done, get out of the shower, we could do the interview then." And I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome. Thanks, man." I mean, who does that? They don't. Most players, it's like it's on the media to ask you, and then when you can't do it, it's on the media to ask you again.
Right? They're not going to go out of their way to do the interview.
That's rare, and so he's a tremendous guy, but he isn't quite what you want as a run defender. He isn't quite what you want as a pass defender. He's just not quite what you want, so you can't pay him.
Last three names that I got that I took notes on yesterday that we haven't talked about right here. 2 linebackers, Nick Martin and Tatum Bethune. Okay. Whatever's incomplete or wrong about them, both those guys are football players. You can go to war with those guys. I like both of them. I really do. I think Nick Martin looked really good in the limited little bit that I saw him, but he was one of the guys that I actually wanted to go down and put my own eyes on before I reached any conclusion. Okay. Yeah, I like it. And with Fred Warner taking a Veterans Day yesterday, he was just standing there. He had no practice. He wasn't limited. He just didn't. There was a lot of Bethune out there, and he looks the part. He absolutely looks the part. I mean, they're playing, basically patty cake 11 on 11s here. So everyone looks pretty good when that's happening, but that guy's ready. To play this year, Larry. He's gonna play this year.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, to say he looks good, you'd have to have seen him before. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, he looks good now. I don't think that he necessarily would stand out to most people, but it's all based on what I saw in my mind's eye of this player a year ago and where he's at now.
Huge improvement. It's like Jacob Cowing, huge improvement.
I mean, Jacob Cowing looks worlds better, but so does Tatum Bethune. And Tatum Bethune basically is a really good instinctive linebacker who knows where to go, and he just hasn't had quite enough speed to get there in the NFL. He was great at Florida State.
But it's one of those things like, screw your stopwatch. That guy's got football speed.
Well, he's picked up, he's leaned out, he's picked up an extra step and a half. And it's funny because when I asked Fred Warner about him, I didn't even reference anything about his remade body. I just said, "Hey, man, Tatum Bethune, what do you think? He looks pretty good." And he's like, "You know what? Tatum Bethune's doing this is Fred. He's like, Tatum Bethune's doing all the right things." And he's like, "It's not just on the field." He's like, "I've also noticed his body. He's redone his body." And that's what it's really, I credit this guy. It is hard as a pro athlete to do that conditioning and find that extra step from within. It's just hard. And this guy did it, and he's all about it. And I don't think anybody realizes he's gained that extra step and a half or what that extra step and a half ultimately will mean. But you guys will see it when the preseason starts, and this guy is making 12 tackles.
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh my God, Tatum Bethune. Hey, what do you guys think of Tatum Bethune?" And people are going to be talking about it in August. But I'm telling you right now in May, because right now you can see the movement ability. You can see the speed. He looks great. He looks absolutely great. By the way, you want to see the opposite of great speed? Let me show you the opposite of great speed. Here's somebody that wasn't in Niner camp who speed has eluded him, and that's why he's no longer a Niner. Here he is. This is Debo running faster.
Good luck.
It's not our problem anymore.
Yeah, no, good luck. Look, I got nothing against Debo Samuel. Neither do you.
No.
In many ways, a fabulous football player. In many other ways, it was time to move on. So I think the Niners got the absolute most out of him when they needed it. He was a huge part of their run to the Super Bowl in 2019. My God. And he might have been the MVP of that game. But he
was at halftime.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he got 2 touches in the second half of Super Bowl, whatever it was, against Kansas City.
The right time to walk
53.
away. It was the right time to walk away. I don't have a problem with that at all. The one other guy that I wanted to say, who I just, again, I don't have a much for you other than I heard he can't catch a cold, and I actually saw him catch a cold, a football anyways, yesterday, was Luke Farrell. Luke Farrell looked pretty good. What's his name? Did not.
Who's
the
that?
other the other tight end who's a huge project from Fordham? What's his name again? I'm just his name's escaping me right.
From Fordham? You mean are you talking about Tongass? You talking about Braden Willis? Braden Willis went to Oklahoma. You talking about Pline?
Yeah, no, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm talking about Pline.
No, Pline. I thought Pline looked really good. Pline made a beautiful catch down the middle and sprinted down the field. Pline's coming on the Krueger show next week, or the week after, and dude, I think Pline is one of the guys to watch. I really do. I think
again, did I watch him intensely the whole thing? Just a couple of. I saw him drop two, I thought, but they were Mordecai reps, so they weren't Brock reps. I don't know what was on who's responsible for what, blah, blah, blah. But I thought Luke Farrell looked good in the little bit that I saw.
He's a huge blocking tight end, and he's incredibly valuable. Why? Because it's not what he is; it's what he represents. He's going to represent having Kittle in the pattern. They're going to get their 5 eligibles out in the pattern more this year, and I think you'll see Dieter's predicted it. We're going to see more 12 personnel with the double tight ends, and you'll see Farrell, blocking, and they just missed that last year without Charlie Warner. A couple other things that stood out that I think I got to mention here. One of the things I was on the lookout for was what was Ricky Pearsall looking like, and Ricky Pearsall, has a hamstring injury, and they're just taking extra precaution with him. But he was running on a side field, and that was one of the things I was looking for. If he wasn't running at all, then we got some concerns about camp. The fact that he was running on a side field tells you that they're just being extra careful. He's working out, and it's a great sign for him going forward that he was running on the side. So that was one of the things I was looking for. Another thing I was looking for was we really don't know the pecking order at running back behind McCaffrey, but I thought Jordan James had a run yesterday where he really flashed that explosiveness. I thought his run yesterday was the best run I'd seen from Jordan James, so that stood out. And then as far as who's starting at left guard, it looks like it's Ben Bartch right now, but it's an open competition. And as I said before, watch out for Pleasance, because if Pleasance is really great at tackle, maybe McKivitz is in that guard mix. But Ben Bartch has looked pretty good at left guard. He's the starter right now. Who's starting at will linebacker? It's been D. Winters, and I would expect it probably will be D. Winters at least to start. Who's shining, a lot? I would say Jacob Cowing. To me, he's really the guy who's shining as far as, last year we saw a lot of the back of a lot of the front of his jersey because he was always kind of like working back to the football. And for a guy who's your speed element, that's not what you want. This year, you're seeing the back of his jersey, and he's making plays. He's catching the ball down the field and going down the field, and it's subtle, but it's a huge, significant difference. I think Cowing is the guy that is going to be, a factor. I'm just saying, I'm not saying that you want him on your fantasy team, but I think that, last year was his redshirt year. Expect him to be significantly better this year.
And again, Demarcus Robinson was a guy who just was impressive. First time looking at him on the field as a player. That's an NFL wide receiver body with hands and speed, and it all looked pretty damn good. The fastest guy, though, in all training camp across every single team in football is Shamar Stewart of the Cincinnati Bengals, Larry. No one has left minicamp faster than that guy. Could you imagine being a rookie and telling everybody mandatory minicamp, even though I do have contractual guarantees in my rookie deal, it's still not good enough for me. I'm out. I mean, nothing says it's about to be Bengals football season than multiple Bengals being upset with their contracts and saying, I'm not playing football. We did this with Chase last year. And it's Hendrickson this year, and the guy that they drafted to replace him, it hasn't worked out once yet, I don't think, with the Bengals.
Now, I don't know if you saw the Schefter report. He left camp today.
Yes.
So this is not getting done anytime soon. And, I suggested yesterday that the 49ers should try to trade for Shamar Stewart. Now, there's a lot of draft fans that saw his low sack total and decided, without ever watching any of Texas A&M, that this guy sucks. So there's all these morons yelling, "Oh, Shamar Stewart sucks." Shamar Stewart does not suck. I'm an A&M fan. I watch A&M every week. Shamar Stewart led A&M in pressures. They lined him up as a 4-eye. They lined him up as a 3-tech. They lined him up as a 1-tech. They lined him up as a 9-tech. He played everywhere on a very good line, and he led them in pressures. So don't let people tell you he sucks. He doesn't suck. He's very, very, very good. And the NFL draft is about traits. It's not about production. It's about traits. And if you don't believe me, then you obviously don't like the Mikael Williams pick, because Mikael Williams is nothing more than Shamar Stewart with a different name and a different school. I mean, they're both gigantic defensive ends who can play tackle, who have great traits and are going to succeed at the next level, but they didn't have huge sack production in college. Daniil Hunter had 2.5 sacks his final year at LSU. The guy's got 100. He's got 100 career sacks. So here's my point: the Niners need a little bit of help. I think that I don't agree with Tim Kawakami, who says, you know what, it's not their year and they're looking at 2026. Bullshit. That's bullshit. No, that's not true at all.
There's no gap year.
No. They're not looking at 2026. I mean, you can say it. You can say it with gusto. You can say it in the SF standard, but it doesn't make it true. That's just like pessimistic Pat kind of a take. It's like, I'm just going to be super pessimistic and it will make me sound like I'm smart. The 49ers are absolutely going to be a 10-win team. The 49ers are absolutely in the Super Bowl mix. There's no question in my mind. Now, it's not a perfect roster, and they have a lot of youth in the secondary. They could use a little bit more pass rush. Now, all I'm saying is I don't think the 49ers, because of their cap, can afford to trade. They already have Nick Bosa. They can't afford to get Trey Hendrickson. They just can't. They can't afford to pay another guy $40 million or $35 million. They can't. They just can't, right? If you want Hendrickson, that's great. Huff made sense because the money was right. But now you got Shamar Stewart, who's a huge talent. And he's saying bad things about the Bengals, and they're saying bad things about him. I actually think, Damon, he's in the right. He's in the right. Well, I asked around, and what the Bengals want to write into that contract basically gives them the ability to escape for any number of reasons. And he doesn't want that. And that language is not included in the rank and file NFL contract. This is another level the Bengals are trying to get to. And they're introducing a concept that very few teams have in their contracts. Well, so all I'm saying is this guy's on a rookie contract.
The rookie contract is basically established to be very easy to negotiate, and the Bengals do look like they're trying to bake some things that are abnormal into a first-round draft pick. The Bengals want to, this is from the New York Post, the Bengals want to establish a new precedent with rookie contracts that allows the franchise to void future guarantees. Again, football should never be trying to do anything that has been established by Bengals precedent. The far and away easiest to identify, worst run organization, not named the Jets, in all of football, and certainly the cheapest organization in all of football. And the one quote that just like, dude, you might not have a play that'll be better than this one quote from Shamar Stewart. He said, "Y'all'd rather win arguments than win games."
I mean, I'm telling you, man, Shamar Stewart is a player. He's going to be a player whenever and wherever he gets signed. Watch for him to be a player.
And watch for the Bengals to forever be a easy to identify disaster.
They've been cheap for years. They've been cheap for years.
Yep.
They don't even have scouts. The Bengals use their assistant coaches largely in the scouting process. Now that's kind of in vogue now, but they literally have a scaled down scouting staff. My point is just that you can't afford Trey Hendrickson. You can't afford, Myles Garrett. You can't afford some of these guys. But you could afford to say to the Bengals, hey, here's Robert Beal, a second-round pick in 2026 and a second-round pick in 2027. Or here's a second-round pick in 2026, Robert Beal, and here's a conditional pick in 2027. You could put together a good enough package. You could afford the player, and he's a versatile player that can play inside or outside, so he's a perfect player for what you got. Play him outside, play him inside, play him in a rotation. That's a guy. Now, I don't know the rules as far as I know that when you draft a guy, you can't trade him until a certain point. But I'm not sure. I think that point is when camp starts. But I'm not really sure about that. But that would be a guy that I would be very interested in, especially if you could get him, because you're not going to have to pay him, big time money. You're going to pay him big money, but you're not going to pay him. You're paying him rookie money. You can't afford Trey Hendrickson, but if you want more pass rush, you might be able to afford Shamar Stewart.
By the way,
and the people who are out there are like, Shamar Stewart can't rush the passer. Just stop. You're embarrassing yourself.
Dumpster Fire Dan says, did Damon say Guerendo should lead this team in all-purpose yards? What kind of an insane take is that? You need to clean out your ears. I said he certainly could. It looks like he's got the talent to do it. And I would not be surprised at the end of this year if Isaac Guerendo had the third most yards from scrimmage on this team, behind Christian McCaffrey and whoever is this team's leading wide receiver, pass catcher. And I think Guerendo could be third or fourth among pass catchers on this team this year, especially if
it's not crazy. It's you know what it is? It's a super bold take, but it's not crazy when you project what Guerendo can do. They threw him 16 passes last year. He caught 15. He's got great ball skills. We just saw him run the length of the field twice. Nobody did it the rest of the day. He's explosive and fast and can catch, and he's just big time. So, yes, there's McCaffrey, and as long as there's McCaffrey will be the guy who does that. But
right,
don't think for a second. I'll say this, and if it was up to me, I would try to turn 2025 into the CMC / Isaac Guerendo combo platter.
And I liked what I saw to Jordan James. Didn't see much. Again, limited in touches and reps, being, the fourth guy on the team. Patrick Taylor, I will say this. The 49ers need to do nothing to address their backfield. That backfield's ready to go. That's a really good backfield. I think the 49ers are going to return to the roots of their run-first philosophy, and they've got the right backfield to do it with.
Quick question here from Loner. He says, Larry and Damon, if Purdy gets hurt, do y'all think Mac Jones can be that guy who can take us forward?
No.
I do. I think Mac Jones. I think the 49ers are going to be able to win 10 games this year, even if Brock Purdy was out. I think Mac Jones could lead them to a 10-win season.
Again, I'm going to have to see that before I'd say that out loud. I thought that Mac Jones looked like a guy who needs a lot of work. Look, the player that Mac Jones is today and the quarterback he'll be for the 49ers a month from now will hopefully be two different things. But he was, I don't know, unimpressive. I don't know. He was just
all right. I didn't find him bad, but there's no mobility there. There's no mobility.
We'll see. How about this? If Brock Purdy goes down, if any team's starting quarterback goes down, that is usually all she wrote. It's a really hard thing to overcome. At best, most backup quarterbacks are good for a month. 4 or 5 games, 4 or 5 starts, get you through the injury, and then bring the other guy back. Once you really take a QB2 and say, we need you to start 12 games, that's when you can't really boldly predict what may or may not happen anymore. That's the ultimate variable.
My vibe is the 90s. Did you guys hear Angel Reese is getting traded to the New York Liberty? Could not care less about the WNBA.
Let me know if you got any Reese's Pieces for us. I'm more interested in that.
Those girls aren't even dialed into their own business enough to realize that their moneymaker is Caitlin Clark and they should boost her up. Instead, they're trying to tear her down.
All I can tell you is that ratings are down 50% since Caitlin Clark has been injured. There is no league in all of sports who is literally as about one person as the WNBA is Caitlin Clark. She's half the audience. All by herself. So everything else in the WNBA represents 50% of the audience, and this one woman all by herself is the other 50%. Caitlin Clark could go start a one-on-one league by herself. It would outrate the WNBA. Sorry. And look, I'm sorry. I'm glad that they're selling out. I'm glad that it's off to a nice start. Get back to me on the Valkyries in year 6.
The people that are talking up the Valkyries are doing it for financial reasons.
Right. They
work for 95.7 the game. I mean, you have to. Anybody who's talking up the Valkyries is, you have to. You're either an idiot or you're getting paid.
I do like the one thing I do like about the Valkyries.
Horrible basketball. I can take the McDonald's All-American team. High school All-Americans would flush the WNBA.
And do you think Caitlin Clark? So Caitlin Clark was sitting courtside for Game 3 last night. Do you think that she was looking at that, going, "Yeah, I could get out there and get 20"? No way, she wouldn't get a shot off. But
supposedly she's dating Trump's kid.
Super duper.
Did you hear that?
I don't care. No, I haven't heard that. I don't follow any WNBA. Like if there's a WNBA story,
I just saw that. I saw it on social media yesterday. Barron Trump and Caitlin Clark are a couple. I didn't know that.
Isn't he like 15? I don't know. I don't
know. I thought he was older. How old is she?
I don't know. I don't care, Larry. Again,
she's a good shooter. I'll say that. She's a good shooter.
The WNBA championship could be happening in my living room. I'd be telling them to get down so I can watch another episode of Andor.
Yeah, I can't. WNBA. Tony Meredith. Austin Pleasant has been on 9 different teams, but now he's on the Niners. He's great. He's going to be an old pro Hall of Famer. Laughing my ass off. I'll say this: laugh all you want, but I understand the absurdity of it. I understand the absurdity of saying that he's been on 9 different teams, but now he looks good. But I don't know what else to say. He looks amazing. You don't see 6'7", 310 move the way Austin Pleasant's moved. And Chris Furster is not some, never been there. He's been coaching offensive line for 20 years. When I said to him, "Dude, Austin Pleasant's, what do you think?" He's like, his eyes opened up wide, and he's like, yeah. He's like, he's a big guy who can really, really move. I had no idea he could move that way. So they're impressed. I agree. It sounds crazy. We'll find out this summer.
Some guys are late bloomers. Some guys find football Jesus later in life. Some guys have kids and then rededicate themselves to the craft for one last. Some guys reach the end of their rope and they realize, if I don't tie this knot now, there's no tying this rope. So I think maybe there's a lot of data points coming together to get the very, very best out of this last offseason in Austin Pleasant's. So far as reaping the benefits, Larry, he might not even be on the team. We don't know yet. But boy, I'd be surprised based on the fact that he's getting starting reps at right tackle. And I don't think that they're just doing that casually to not take a serious look at him.
Iceman 0072 decided that today's his last Krueger show. Says, Larry's dumb. Why would the Bengals trade their first round pick? Shaking my head.
It's not going to happen.
I've got to say to Iceman, bye-bye.
Oh,
bye-bye, Iceman.
People get in their feelings.
I don't get if you don't know how to communicate and all you can do is hurl insults, you're gone. There's a lot of shitty YouTube channels that you can watch instead. Here we go.
Through some supers.
Yeah, let's do it. We got one there. We got this one from Scotty. Purdy throwing motion looked tighter, his arm closer to his body at the start and more in front of his body on the follow through. Am I tripping? You could be tripping, but I thought he looked pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. There's nothing left to evaluate. That's the guy.
He looks really good, by the way.
He does. I mean, I don't even want to talk about it anymore. Nothing matters for Brock Purdy now than results on game day. I get it. That's the neighborhood he just moved into. I'm not worried about that guy.
No, he looks good. Fuji Simeon says Debo showed up at Washington's camp looking big. Yeah, we just saw that. Fuji Simeon can't understand why the New York Giants have low cap space. Yeah, the New York Giants have the least cap space, and they're horrible.
Second to last or something like that.
Yeah, second to last, but they're horrible. The Niners have the second most.
They still got the Daniel Jones dead cap space on there. What the hell's going on?
Yeah.
Like, how did you lose Saquon Barkley and have that?
Yeah. Joe Shane, that's a pretty neat little trick. Ricky Williams, BA seems like the next Diggs, not a Hall of Famer, but walks and talks like he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I want scary Terry McLaurin, a lunch pail guy that's a dog. Yeah, I mean, I think if the Niners could get McLaurin for BA, they would do it in a freaking second. They would do it in a second. Scotty D says you can't trade rookie until after the last game of his first year. If he doesn't sign, he'll go back into next year's draft. Yeah, I was told that yesterday, so maybe he's right. The coach is in the house. What's up, coach? He said, what's the differentiation between a rookie getting traded in the fashion of like a John Elway, Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, or versus Shamar Stewart getting drafted but not signed, signing his deal? Could we legit get him in a trade? Coach, I'll look this up specifically today with people that I think are in the know, but I get the sense that the last guy that just Scotty here, I think Scotty gave us the info. I think this is the info that you can't trade a rookie until after the last game of his first year.
The San Diego Chargers drafted and traded Eli before he ever, did anything but put on a hat. So what allowed that to happen, but wouldn't allow this to happen? It's a legit question that we.
And it's also years ago. There might be a rules change because that was years ago. I mean, we're talking about what year was that? 2000 and
yes, there could absolutely be a new position in the CBA that doesn't allow that to happen anymore.
And coach, you could have just thrown that in there, man. You didn't have to throw the 1999, bro. But thank you, though, sir. And coach, good to hear from you again. I'd like to stream again with Coach because Coach and I had some fun streams.
Coach took a shot at me earlier. I saw it in the chat, and he's like, "Oh, Damon's backtracking." That's one of my strengths.
Coach will take shots.
Not deciding that I've seen something and I'm going to stick with it, even though I'm wrong. I don't know. When I saw Luke Farrell, he didn't look particularly good. Mason Pline. But when Larry did, he saw reps that he did. I was overwatching the defensive line when Larry saw the reps that he liked. So, okay, good. But the fact that I'm willing to take other bits of information, not just stick to my own point, no matter how right or wrong I might be, is something that as a coach, you should recognize as an attribute, not a detriment. Thank you.
Look at Damon fighting with Coach. Coach, I hear you, Damon. I hear you. Harold McAllister says,
There we go. Okay, good, Coach.
We're okay, bro. We're okay. Did you just jump in? Now I've lost my spot.
Harold
McAllister. How does the cornerback situation look? I'm going to share the screen real quick, and I'm going to let you see what Saleh said about it because I asked him this question yesterday. And he made a great point. He really did. And this is courtesy of Kevin Krueger. And I asked him about this. I asked him about dudes on the corner. Here's what he had to say. Here's Saleh yesterday.
Robert, with the Jets, you had, on the corner, you had, real dudes. You had Sauce and you had Reed and you have Demo and you have Renardo now, but you brought in 7 corners. Are any of those guys dudes? Are any of those guys opening your eyes at all?
Yeah, well, I feel like from communication, the whole goal into this OTAs was just to see our guys improve from a communication standpoint, execution standpoint, all that. And once we get pads on and it gets real and you can get a little bit more physical with the receivers, you've got crack replace rules, they're going to be a little bit more involved. We'll have a better idea of who's going to stick and who's not.
Fair answer. But he didn't want to go on record there and say, hey, I like this guy or this guy's look good, and that's a savvy veteran coach, Damon. I mean, it's like he's not going to, you can glean quite a bit from OTAs, but it has to do more with, I think, with conditioning. You really can't. I can tell you, man, this guy's in shape. That guy looks fast. This guy put on weight. I remember when John Lund and I were standing behind Aaron Lynch, and he was they listed him at 265. John's like, dude, what do you think he weighs? I'm like, dude, I bet you he weighs by 310, maybe 315. And then we interviewed him, and he's like, yeah, my wife's pregnant, and she's been eating a lot, and I've been eating with her. And it's like, dude, you're supposed to be 260. You're 310. So you can see conditioning. But you can't really see anything until you put the pads on. And Bobby T said it about the running backs. He's like, don't fall in love with any of these running backs in the springtime. He's like, I don't evaluate running backs until they put the pads on. You don't find out about the toughness of a football player until they put the pads on.
Right.
And the game is played with pads.
And this is why I think Shanahan and Saleh work so well together, because this is how Shanahan's cut too. You won't hear Kyle coming off the field excited about anybody in an OTA practice.
No,
never.
And did you by the way, did you hear Kyle when he was asked about the kicker, Damon, about Jake Moody? Kyle, what do you think of Jake's new two-step routine? And he's like, it went through the goal uprights. That's what I saw. I mean, Kyle is so exhausted by the kicker situation. Fuji Simeon says, so no Valkyrie tickets for Father's Day gift, Larry. Is Father's Day this weekend?
Sunday. Happy Father's Day, everybody. By the way, so no, Larry doesn't want those. I don't want those either. The thing that I like about the Valkyries is they call Chase Center when they're playing in it Valhalla, which is great. If you're the Valkyries who protect Valhalla, calling it Valhalla, good marketing there. But after that, I'm not interested.
Well, first of all, okay. On one hand, I have a daughter, and I interviewed David Stern. And I asked him one time, what's your greatest accomplishment? He told me his greatest accomplishment was the creation of the WNBA because he opened up the basketball dream to more than half the population, blah, blah, blah. So from that standpoint, I have great love for the WNBA and great love for the creation of the WNBA because I want little girls to be able to dream the same dream that little boys dream, right? Somebody's walking around going, I want to be in the NBA. That's great. That's a dream. We need dreams. Some little girls walking around going, I want to be in the WNBA. That's great. That's a dream. We need dreamers. We need people to have goals and ambitions. So I'm all about it. I just don't want to watch it. I think the product sucks. I think it's boring as shit. Yeah. I think I don't want to watch bad sports. And it's bad sports. It's beneath the rim, unexplosive hoops.
I don't have to like everything, and I certainly don't need to like anything that you're telling me that I have to like.
Right.
It's not for me. If it's for you, awesome. It's great. I love basketball played by dudes. That's where it ends. Okay,
they're just backwards too. They're backwards. Seriously. They were literal. I don't even want to get into it, but they're honoring people they shouldn't honor, and they're shouting out people they shouldn't be shouting out. Fuji Simeon says, "I was wrong. I thought it was going to be to be a lean Bay Area sports summer, but the Giants are hanging in the NL West." Larry, Friday, Giants against Dodgers, Webb against Yamamoto.
Yeah, it's getaway day in Colorado. Yeah, getaway day in Colorado. They've won 7 in a row. Can they get to 8 before they get to Dodger Stadium? They've got the longest winning streak in Major League Baseball. Right now, they're in sole possession of second place in the National League West by a half game now over the Padres. They can't score runs to save their life, but they're right in it. They're right in it. It's really not whether you're winning or losing. It's how you're playing sometimes in baseball because there's enough games. They need a bat desperately. Let's see how they do without Matt Chapman, and Patrick Bailey has just hit the IL too. So let's see. But, the real test starts at Dodger Stadium.
I wish they would get a hitter. I would say this too. The Giants should take this year and look at it like it's not another year, because not every year, Damon, and I know I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but I'm just saying this out loud. You're not every year you don't have a chance to make the playoffs. You don't. There's some years there's too many playoff teams. Some years you just get off to a bad start. The Giants are a half game behind the Dodgers, and we're in middle of June. And the Giants have better pitching than the Dodgers, top to bottom. But the Giants can't hit their way out of a fucking paper bag.
The Dodgers
go get yourself a bat. Go get yourself a couple bats. You know, I understand that at times it takes prospects, and you don't always have prospects. But the Giants do have prospects. You have prospects, you have money, you haven't been in the playoffs for a long time. If you get to the playoffs this year, I think it's a huge shot in the arm to your fan base and your franchise. I think the Giants need to sell out, be aggressive, and trade a couple top-tier prospects to get that bat, to get them over the top and into the playoffs. I think it's really crucial.
Be willing to do that because they ain't his guys. You know what I mean? Right. Like, do it, Buster.
Yeah, no question. Coach, this one, he says, Debo's camp reports are spreading around here like wildfire. Trey Amos has been gaining his reputation off of him early. Debo has not impressed early. I will say this, Coach, you know it as well as anybody. Trey Amos is going to be great. He's going to be really, really good. So I think some of that's probably on Debo, but I think some of that might be on Trey Amos being damn good. Trey Amos is that Ole Miss corner who's just smothering.
I'll also say this. You know, Debo has never been like the practice player. He's a game day guy.
Yeah. I wouldn't lose my mind.
Game day guy either, which was the problem.
Right. I wouldn't lose my mind thinking that that he's terrible or anything. I just think that, he's going to give you some really good games. And then he's going to have injuries. He's going to have other games. And I think the overall, it will be really impressive early and then not so impressive over time. Scotty D, when is the next stream with Kev? Love old man and son dynamics. Damon and son might be a wee bit soon.
Yeah, me and the 5-year-old.
Dude, that would be an awesome stream, dude. That would be your wife probably wouldn't like it. But you know what? You should tape it. You should tape a stream. You should tape a stream. So my youngest kid was your kid's age, he said to me at dinner one night, he's like, Dad, you don't do anything. You just talk for a living. Right. And he was real cute. And everybody started laughing. Oh, Dad just talks for a living. And I go, oh, really? You think it's pretty easy? He's like, yeah, all you do is talk. And you talk about sports. That's what you do. So he was at that age. And so my older son, Kev, was like, it's not that easy. It's like he's defending Dad. It was kind of funny. And then so we decided at the dinner table, Damon, that we were going to take out a stopwatch. And he said, how long do I have to talk if I was a talk show host? And I said, well, we do about 7-minute segments. So I go, why don't we do this? We'll give you 7 minutes and we'll just give you an open 7 minutes at the dinner table and you can talk about anything at all you want in sports.
Right.
Do you think you can do it? He's like, absolutely. Let's do it. And we started. And after about 1:10, it was hilarious.
He probably didn't make it to the second minute.
But it was really cute at the beginning, Damon. It was like, and the Giants played last night, and they were on TV, and
it's like Ralph,
and they won, and they got a home run, and it was really, really cute. And then all of a sudden, he got to like 1:10, and he's like, I don't have anything more to say.
You should have taped it. Like, don't you wish you had that? Don't you wish you had that?
I do wish I had that.
Yeah,
I do wish. And I think I said to him, you're more of a TV guy.
You got a face for TV, kid.
You're more of a TV guy. TV guys can go for 1.5 minutes before they die. I go, you're more of a TV guy, Chris. Oh, it was cute. We got this one. And but when is the next stream with Kev? Well, Kev and I will definitely be streaming next week. I'm going on vacation and bringing the family with me. So Kev will definitely be doing streams with me. He's going to join me for the post game stream throughout the season, and he'll also, I think, join me on Wednesday nights for our call-in. We're going to do a call-in show on Wednesday nights. So yeah, Kev will definitely be back. He's running the channel from behind. And he does a ton of work, and I love him. He does incredible stuff. Grant says I pay him too much, but I think I don't pay him enough. So there you go. Let's see. We got this one as well.
Speaking of streams, Larry, I have to go and have my own stream in the bathroom.
I know. Let me get these out of the way.
Stream.
Fuji Simeon says, speaking of contract negotiations, nothing will be more tenuous than when Larry negotiates with Kev. What perks will Kev seek? Status as official as a number one son. Yeah, exactly. He's going to want, he's going to be like Mike Trout. He's going to want a suite on the road. He's going to want tickets to more tickets to games. Blood Moon's his thoughts on the Giants.
Look at it this way. Look at it this way. If you don't give him what he wants, he might just Shamar Stewart you and freaking walk, Larry.
Seriously. All of a sudden he's making Mayoko's channel the greatest ever. Blood Moon says thoughts on Grant's reporting of T.O. and Patrick Willis and Frank the Tank on either side of BA looking as T.O. was berating BA. Interesting. Well, it's funny. So T.O. was there at practice talking to Brandon Ayuk, and Gore was at practice talking to CMC. I don't know what and then Malik Mustafa was at practice, and he was next to John Lynch talking safety play. So I don't know. I don't know what T.O. and BA were talking about. That one, I don't know what to say there.
Again, Grant saw it. I didn't see it. My eyes.
I didn't see it. Well, you can't see everything.
Players. Yeah, I went down there to watch players. My eyes were on practice reps the entire time, not on any side work. Don't know what did or didn't happen.
Yeah, you know, the one thing about practice is it's two fields, and they're spread across, and you got to kind of pick your poison. So you can't watch everybody every day. So
can't see everything.
Anyway, that's going to do it for us. Damon, you're streaming right now in 4 minutes.
Yeah, at 11 o'clock, I got Sam Batesh coming on. Looking forward to our weekly kind of, look around the entire world of sports. We're going to start, I think, talking about just like, like if last night's NBA Finals game doesn't get a good rating, I don't know what people want when they sit down to watch sporting events, because that's as good as an NBA Finals game as you can have. And if that doesn't get a good rating, again, are you just a whole bunch of LeBron dick riders and that's all you want on your basketball games? I don't get it. So we're going to talk about that. And
Chet Holmgren's been very disappointing.
Did you see him get blocked at the 3-point line by freaking Miles Turner in a big situation last night? Dude, you know how up you got to get to block a Chet Holmgren 3? Like Miles
Damon,
Turner,
how about this? Man. Guess Chet Holmgren has played in 3 games nearly 90 minutes on the floor. How many fouls do you think he has committed in 3 games? Just guess, just randomly.
It's either an overwhelming or I can't remember him committing. Is it 0? Is he not playing hard enough?
3 total fouls. He's not playing hard enough. He's not playing. You're not just going to wake up and have a parade and a championship ring on your finger. You are one of the drivers of the team. You cannot just be along for the ride. Dude, you got to be more aggressive. You can't commit. He's had 1 block and 3 fouls committed in 90 minutes on the floor. Chet, start playing, buddy. Start playing. Anyway, that's gonna do it for us. I'm gonna be. Today's a big exercise day. I'm gonna hit the gym. I'm going for 2 plates today. Seriously, haven't done it in a long time. But going for 2 plates today. I will be on for Niners Nightly on KMBR tonight from 6 to 7. So join me from 6 to 7 tonight for a little Niners Nightly.
2 dinner plates tonight.
What's that?
2 dinner plates tonight for me, Larry.
Okay, and then also later on tonight, Dieter stops by, so we'll stream with Dieter. Damon's up next with Sam Batesh on his channel. Thanks to everybody. Have a great Thursday. Until next time, peace.